Welcome to the Who You Know Job Networking Show, where what you know is important, but who you know can make all the difference in your career, in your business, relationships, and in your life. Today is episode 318. Can I get a 318 down there in the chat? If you are watching online, would love for you to do that. 318. And the title of today's episode is I'm Still Here. Claim your shame. Claim your shame. I actually got that line from Heather Monahan. Shout out to her. She's amazing. And she talked about one of the ways to claim your shame is to shine a light on it. So today, that is exactly what I'm going to be doing myself. I've been asked several times to share my story, to get a little bit more personal and let people in to my personal journey and what I've gone through in my life. I've had a kind of a rough start to my life. Things are definitely a lot better now, but definitely had a rough start. And I've always had a little bit of shame, or I've been ashamed to share my story publicly. And about a month ago, I did a post and I wrote it out, and I had every year, like from when I was 8 and when I was 9 and when I was 10, and like all the things that happened in my life all the way up into this point. And it was pretty dark in the beginning. It was pretty dark. And I remember going to hit that post button and immediately had like fear and anxiety, and was like, "Oh my gosh, I don't know if I should hit post. Like, I don't know if I should hit the post button." And I don't know, I got the courage and was just like, "Yeah, hit post." And what's crazy is that post went super viral. Um, so many people were reaching out, and people were it was just so amazing. Like, number one, there was a lot of support. Number two, a lot of people could relate. And a lot of people reached out to me in DMs and was like, "Oh my gosh, stuff like that happened to me as well." And it was able to liberate and free not only myself, but a lot of other people. And so I was like, okay, well, I know now what I have to do. I have to start sharing this story. And so I'm going to be doing that today with you guys, sharing a little bit about my journey and kind of where I come from and my background. Um, I will tell you that um, it's kind of hard. How do you get over the feeling of embarrassment? How do you get over the feeling of shame, of being ashamed? Shame comes in a lot of different ways, guys. I'm going to tell you that right now. It comes in a lot of different forms. It could be something you're ashamed of that you did wrong. Maybe you messed up, you made a mistake, and you're ashamed. Maybe you have shame for something that is completely out of your control. Maybe you were wronged. Maybe you were, for a lot of the job seekers in our community, maybe you were fired or let go, and you feel ashamed about being out of work. That is something we see a lot, right? Maybe it's not your fault at all, right? Um, so it comes in many, many different forms. It could be, again, it could be something you did, could be something you're embarrassed about, maybe something in your past, something you did wrong. Maybe you've been abused, right? That's not your fault, but I could see why someone might feel ashamed, right? So um James 5:16. James 5:16 says, "Therefore confess your sins to each other and pray for each other so that you may be healed." Healing, right? So, how do you get over the feeling of shame and embarrassment? Well, shine a light on it. That's what Heather Monahan says, and I love it. I think it's amazing. Shine light on it, right? That way, the enemy doesn't hold your story, the enemy doesn't control it, okay? It's kind of like, I don't know if any of y'all have ever seen that movie, Eighth Mile, right? With Eminem, right? Where there's a rap battle scene where he basically tells everything that he's messed up, all the bad things about himself. He is putting it all out there, and the guy that he's rap battling has absolutely nothing to say after that. He has no weapons. He has no ammo at that point. So shine a light on it, and that way your enemy doesn't control that story. Um, Tell your story, share your vulnerability. So today I'm going to be doing that with you guys. I'm gonna be telling you a little bit about my story. I got some notes here because I did write it all out because it's pretty detailed. So let's get started. Before, when I was pretty young, before my parents divorced, like everything was really good. Actually, things were great. Had a great childhood actually, but at the age 8, that's when my parents divorced. Okay. My mother had received the house in the divorce, and I decided to stay with my mother. We did have split custody, and I did go see my father every once in a while. Um, but in all transparency, I didn't really want him around because he had discipline. He was the one that would enforce rules and things like that. So I didn't really want him around. So I ended up staying with my mom. So I was 8 when my parents divorced. Um, I was 9, and this one's really, really tough for me to put out there. I was 9 when I was molested. Um, I can't even remember all of the details about it, guys. I will tell you this right now. I remember my father was working at this place called Fairview Farms out um, in like Plano, and there was these woods, and I don't remember who it was. I don't really remember all the details. I was 9, and I remember it happened. I remember some things happened. um, and it's something that's always kind of ate at me because I don't know. I don't even remember all the details. I'm sure there's probably some psychology in that. Maybe I've blocked some of that out, but it happened. It happened multiple times throughout my childhood. So um, by age 10, I started smoking cigarettes and drinking with my mom. My mom actually, every year on my birthday, she would give me one more cigarette per day, right? So when I was 11, I got one cigarette a day. When I was 12, I got 2 cigarettes a day. When I was 13, I got 3 cigarettes a day. Like I started smoking and drinking with my mom at a very, very early age. Um, when I was 11, I walked in on my brother attempting suicide, and that was really rough. I walked in, and he was bleeding everywhere, and he's been in and out of the hospitals all throughout my life, right? Almost every holiday. And thank God he has not been successful, but I love my brother to death. He really is just an amazing person. But I worry about that. I worry about that a lot. Um, and I was 11 the first time I saw that, and I witnessed that. By age 12, I had started smoking pot with my mom. So it's kind of interesting. In the very beginning, she didn't want me to do it, uh, but she smoked pot. So it was kind of hypocritical, right? She was like, she smoked pot, and I got busted with like an ounce of weed. Okay, I'm 12 years old. I got like an ounce of weed, and my my mom busted me with it. And she didn't want me to do it. She was like going to ground me or something like that. And I told her, I was like, well, hey, I'm going to do it either way. So we can either do it together or I'm just going to do it. And I ended up, me and my mom, we started smoking together. We were like hanging out. Like my mom was more at that time, more of a, she just let me do whatever I wanted. You know what I mean? Like, I think it was probably easier for her. I was a lot to handle, and maybe it was easier for her. I'm not really sure, but I didn't have a lot of discipline when I was living with my mom. At age 13, I went to jail. I got my police report right here. I was in and out of jail, and guys, this thing is long. Okay, like there's a lot to this report. um, by age 13, I went to jail for fighting. I remember I was I was at school, and there was this kid there that we had some beef. Things were not cool for whatever reason, and um, I started to fight him at the school. I was very angry at that point. I started to fight him at the school. And then saw some teachers come around, got afraid. I didn't want to get busted, didn't want to get in trouble. And we rode the same bus. And so when I was on the bus, everybody was really instigating me because they saw what happened at school. And, everybody's like, beat him up, beat him up. And I'm like, yeah, I'm going to beat him up. I mean, I was a really stupid 13-year-old. And I got off on the bus stop at his bus stop. And he ran home, and I knocked on the door, and his little brother and sister opened the door and let me in the house. And when I went in the house, he came out with hairspray and maced me in my eyes. And shoot, you know what? I deserved it. Think about it. I was fighting him at school. I followed him home. Right? He was scared, and he maced me. So we fought in his house, and I ended up getting arrested for that, right? So I was trying to not get in trouble, and I ended up getting in way, way, way more trouble. And I was 13 at that point. So I went to jail, went to juvie. Um, and then at 14, I got sent, to alternative schools, was in alternative schools. I actually, they had me in a class called PASS, Positive Attitudes for Success. And in this class, they put the kids like me who were getting in lots of trouble, breaking rules, breaking laws, and angry and whatever, like the troubled kids. They put us in the same class as kids that had mental disabilities, right? So I actually rode the short bus to school and to alternative schools. I rode the short bus, and I remember defending a lot of the handicapped kids when people would make fun of them. That was another. I would fight just like real quick if somebody. I was very, very angry, and I would fight a lot. And if somebody made fun of these kids with a handicap or disability, and maybe it was part of my own insecurity because I was in class with them as well, and I rode the bus with them and things like that. But I came to their defense a lot of times, but that also got me in a lot of trouble. Um, so by the age of 15, I had violated my probation because I was on probation for this fight. Um, and I had violated my probation because my mom didn't have a car and wasn't able to take me to my probation officer. So I wasn't able to go see him. And so I violated my probation, and they came and picked me up like 2 days before Christmas, and picked me up, took me to uh, back to Juvi. So I'm in Juvi, and I'm gonna tell you right now, Juvie like is scary. Okay, ain't nobody got time for that. Listen, we're not trying to go there. I think that they were really, really hard on the kids. I don't know if they just try to scare you or whatever, but the guards and all of that, like they were really rough on us. So that was a scary time. And I remember I had a choice to make at that time. They told me that I was in jeopardy of being in jail until I was 21 because I had violated this probation, and things were not good. Things were not looking good for me. And they told me I was either gonna be forced with that and have to stay in jail till I was 21, or the alternative was that they deemed that my mom was not a suitable place for me to stay and that I had to move with my father. Now, remember I told you in the beginning that my father was always there. I just didn't really want him around, okay? Because I was young and crazy and stupid and acting a fool. And my dad was the discipline. He was the structure. He was everything a kid doesn't want. A kid just wants to eat candy all day, right? And play video games or whatever. I just wanted to smoke weed and get high and drunk. Like that's the environment I was in, and that's all I wanted to do. And so I didn't want my father around. But at this point, man, I was kind of forced. I had this choice to make: jail until you're 21, or, you know, go move in with your father. So, well, I went and moved with my father because that's a pretty easy choice if you ask me. I went and moved in with him, and let me finish off the story because things really start to pick up. Okay, here's what's interesting though. Before I move on, so I was 16 at this point, and I started this journey. And in this story, I told you from at age 8 is when my parents divorced. So from age 8 to age 16, all of that stuff that I just told you had happened. Like a lot of things had happened in the first an 8-year period. There was an 8-year period where a lot of things, things were a mess, right? And so then I go and move in with my father, and he was a painter, painted homes, and so I would work with him, and I was able to pay off because I would work with him and save money. I was able to pay off my restitution for my probation, court fines, and all of these things. So I was able to pay off all the restitution um, and got off of probation. So by age 17, I'm off paper, y'all. I'm off the paper by age 17. Like that was really cool. I don't know if that would have happened had I stayed with my mom. Actually, I know that wouldn't have happened, right? Um, I started saving money. Became a really good saver. He taught me how to save and how to earn money. I bought a car by the time I was 18. And from 18 to 20, I had saved up like $20,000, right? From 18 to 20, I had $20,000 in the bank. And I got a job selling Harley Davidsons at age 20. And I remember I was afraid to leave. You got to understand where I grew up. With my mom, I was in extreme poverty. Things were really, really rough. There were times we didn't have water or lights. There were, it got really, really rough there. And here I am with my father, and I'm able to save. I bought a car. I got a job. Like things are looking up. And so at this point, I remember my stepmom asking me how much money I had in the bank. Actually, I don't even know if it was in the bank at that point. I remember having a shoebox full of cash. I had a shoebox full of cash, and I remember my stepmom asking me how much money I had. And I guess it was in the bank. But she asked me how much money I had, and I told her I had like $20,000, and she was like, "What? You have $20,000?" She was like, "It's time. It's time for you to move out, basically." And otherwise, I probably would have stayed longer with my father. Um, but I remember, she asked me, she's like, "Do you not think that's enough?" Like, I was worried. I didn't necessarily want to go out on my own. I didn't think $20,000 was a lot of money. And so, I had this job selling Harleys, and my dad told me, he said, "Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to start charging you rent." And so as soon as he told me that, I was like, "All right, well, if you're going to charge me rent, I'm out." Right. So I got an apartment, and this is where things kind of changed too. So I got an apartment at 20 years old, and now I'm on my own again. Now I don't have that somebody watching over my shoulder, that discipline, that structure. Things got a little loose again. Okay. Things got a little loose. I started drinking a lot. Um, I ended up wrecking my motorcycle. I crashed my motorcycle, almost died. I had internal bleeding in my head. Uh, I hit my head. I can't smell right now. I have no sense of smell because of the internal bleeding, and scrambled my brains up somehow. I don't know. But I'm lucky to be here. Lucky to be here. And so that was when I was 20. Um, by between age 20 and 21, I think right around that time is when I accepted Jesus as my Lord and Savior. All right. So that's when my heavenly Father came into my life, and I accepted him as my Lord and Savior. Now, again, throughout my earlier years, I had known about Jesus, but I hadn't really made that decision. Okay. I hadn't, we had went to church on and off, but I hadn't really made that decision. But at age 21, I made that decision. Um, and here's where things start to pick up, things start to change, right? By age 22, um, I was now in the auto industry. Okay. So I left selling Harleys, went to the auto industry, and I became a top producer my first year there. Okay. So I get into this business, and I was like number one right off the bat. I found something I was good at. Oh my gosh, that built confidence, right? That really built confidence. So by age 22, I became a top producer. At 23, I was making $150,000 a year. Okay, in the auto industry, $150,000 a year. And let me tell you something. Like, I did not grow up with money. We were poor. I grew up in Allen, Texas, okay, which is a suburb outside of Dallas, which actually has a lot of money, okay. Where I grew up, there was money everywhere except for where I was growing up. We were poor, dirt poor. Again, I remember having to steal water from the neighbors to get the toilet to flush because we didn't have running water. Okay. Like, we were super poor. I was broke as a joke. So now I'm 23. I'm making money. Wow. Like, and I found something I'm good at. I got confidence, right? Um, by 24, I had bought my first home. Like, things are looking up. Bought a home. Um, and by 25, I'm in the auto industry. Things are going well. And um, I got overlooked for a promotion. Okay. I got overlooked for a promotion. And that really bothered me because I was their top producer. I was their number one guy. I was the best. I was the top of the top. And I got overlooked again. It happened again at when I was 26. By 27, I decided, you know what? I got to make an escape because there was someone hanging over me that would not allow me to move up. And this guy was standing in my way. And I needed to make a transition. So I made a career transition myself. I had to start studying, and by age 28, I transitioned careers into financial services, which is what I currently do at this point. Um, so 28, I jump in a brand new business, and again, where I came from, I was crushing it, y'all. I was making all the money in the auto industry. I was absolutely crushing. Was the top producer. And I jump into financial services. I take that leap of faith, that leap of faith. And let me tell you something. The next year was rough. That next year, I hit rock bottom. Boom. This is at age 29. My business was failing. Um, the first year, being an entrepreneur or business owner it's rough, y'all. It's really, really tough. This is where I can relate a lot to the job seeker communities because that first year, man, it's like every day I was unemployed and I had to get someone to hire me every single day. All right. Every day I woke up, it was like I was unemployed and I had to get someone to hire me. I had to get someone to do business with me. And I felt like quitting. I remember calling my dad. Talk about a shame. We're talking about shame. I remember calling my dad and being like, "Oh, Dad, this is not going so well." I was ashamed to tell him because, again, where I came from in the auto industry, I was the best. And here I am failing. Man, there was shame in that. I felt like quitting, but I doubled down. Um, and I didn't have the money. Like, I didn't have it, but I doubled down and I hired staff. Like, I needed help because I couldn't do it all, right? When you start a business, you're doing everything, right? But I doubled down and I hired staff, and really immediately things started to pick up again, because I took that leap of faith again and I believed in myself. And I made that decision. I think also when you invest like that, you're making a decision. You're drawing the line in the sand and you're moving forward. And that's what I did. Um, by age 30, that's when I started to serve the job seeker community. Man, I fell into that. Fell into that. And what a blessing. What an absolute blessing to serve this community. It's been, have absolutely loved it. I relate a lot, the underdog, you know, like the underdog, the person who's just getting beat up, right? I was beat up a lot as a kid throughout my early life. And for the job seeker, you're getting beat up. You're dealing with rejection and all kinds of stuff. So listen, it's been a pleasure serving the job seeker community. I was 30 when that happened. By age 31 is when I started this show, the Who You Know Job Networking Show. And it was just an idea. I remember seeing this guy in the mortgage industry. He was a mortgage guy and he had a show. And I was like, ooh, I need to do that. right? And I had been following him for a while, and I was like, I'm going to create this show. And I had the idea. I was like, you know what we're going to do is we're going to build our network to support the job seekers and serve them. So we'll bring on recruiters and hiring managers and career coaches, and we'll bring these people on to be a resource for this community that I'm serving. And so, because in all transparency, when I first started serving the job seeker community, I didn't have anything to give them. I wasn't, I, I couldn't help them find a job, but I knew if I built a network, like I'll just be the connector, right? I'll be the connector. And if I can connect two people and a job just so happens to come out of it, well, then I did help them, right? So I just figured out ways to put people together to get conversations started. And so that's originally what I did with the Who You Know shows. Like, okay, let me invite my network of recruiters and my network of coaches and all these people on, and we'll start bringing them to make them available for the job seeker community. And so that's been a blessing. Was 32 when I became a top producer in the financial services industry. So again, in a short amount of time, I was hitting rock bottom. Remember, at what was it? Age 31. No. I'm sorry. Age 29. My business was failing, and in a short amount of time, I became a top producer, and consistently. So things were picking up. And I think a lot of it had to do with um, I I had the right motivations, right? I was serving people. That's it, serving people. And I think that if you remove your desire or your desired outcome in sales, if you can remove that, you're going to be so much better off. Okay. Even for you job seekers, when you go into an interview, if you are really, really worried, like, I got to get this job, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, right? Then it's not good. It's what they call commission breath. It's what they call commission breath. And it's really deters people. It comes off as desperation, right? But when you do it in a place of service, I'm doing it to serve. It's completely different. And people want to connect to that. They want to connect to that. In all transparency, it's the reason why I'm doing this episode right now. Because when I first started to do this episode, I was terrified, again, to share my story publicly like this, because I haven't done this, guys. This is really kind of a first. So if you're hearing this right now, it takes a lot of courage for me to do this, but I do it because I can visualize the person that it's going to serve. There's literally one person right now. I got one person in mind. I know it's going to help a lot more than that, but there's literally one person. I can see their face right now, and I'm not going to say their name out loud, but I know this is going to help them. And so that's why I'm pushing through, and being vulnerable to share my story. So by the age of 33, that's when the pandemic happened, right? At age 33. And what's crazy about that is the world shut down. Things kind of, came to a stop, but I was needed even more. Everybody got furloughed and let go and fired, and, the country shut down. And so, there were a lot more job seekers on the market. Let's just put it that way. And our business exploded because we were able to serve, and we had everything we needed to really be able to help people. And we did. We were able to help so many people, thousands and thousands and thousands of people all over the country, just overnight exploded. And how grateful I am for that, actually, that during a pretty scary time where a lot of people are hurting, I'm able to actually help, right? I'm actually able to get in there and help. And I was able to get a lot of people back to their cash flow, which is amazing. And I started to be featured in the news and things like that, news publications. That's when, like, I got featured on Forbes and all of these different things for the strategies I was putting in place to help job seekers. And that has been amazing. A matter of fact, just on Monday, I had 10 interviews with Fox News Radio. 10. They have a syndicate, and so they have all these radio stations, and I did a interview blitz with them. And I've just been doing a lot of that, and it's just really amazing to see what's happened from serving people. But silently behind the scenes, there's been a battle that I have been fighting, and I can't give too much details at this point. I wish I could, but there are reasons for that, and when the timing is right, I will share more. But silently, I've been fighting a battle in order to be able to do the things that I do, and so at age 34, that's where I am right now. I'm 34. I'm starting to reinvent. There are things that I'm reinventing and adapting and changing um, to be able to continue to serve in the way that I do. So this year, I turn 35. I'll be 35 June 17th. So make sure you wish me a happy birthday. At June 17th, I will be 35. And here's where I'm at now. I'm still here, right? I've gone through a lot. There's been ups and downs. The first 8 years, from 8 to 16, y'all, was really rough, right? And but I'm still here, and God has got me through every challenge, every obstacle, right? When I look at this list, when I go through this, I go, man, I can do anything. I can do it. I can do anything. Like, I look at my early years and I go, oh my gosh, right? Divorce, molestation, drugs, walking in on my brother attempting suicide. I mean, I got in a motorcycle accident, jail, juvenile, probation, alternative schools, like all of this stuff. Crazy, crazy, crazy beginning, you guys. This right here is my police report, right? All of these papers. That was like 8 years of my life. But I'm going to tell you, your past does not define who you are. Okay. This is not who I am. That's the beauty of it. And I think that God can also use your scars to heal others. If you're able to get out, be brave, shine light on your shame, and get out there and tell your story. Your story can be encouraging for someone. Because, listen, if I can overcome all of that, you can overcome whatever it is that you're going through. If I can overcome those years and all of this stuff and make it to a point right now where things are great, guys. I'm so blessed. I'm so grateful, right? I'm so thankful. There's so many positive things in my life. And listen, whatever you're going through right now, if you're going through a trial, if you're going through some tribulation, if life is handing you some raw cards or a raw hand, like you're not getting the right cards, you can overcome too. Okay. But it starts with being vulnerable and shining some light on it. Okay. Shining some light on it. And you can do this in multiple ways. Like, as an example, if you're a job seeker, don't be afraid to tell people what you're going through. Like, maybe you got rejected and you had eight interviews and you just got rejected. Well, guess what you're going to feel? Ugh, it's going to hurt, right? And you know what? You may be ashamed to tell your spouse, right? Because she was looking forward to you getting that job, getting your cash flow back, right? You may feel ashamed, but you need to get that out there. You need to shine light on it. You need to tell people about it. It's okay, right? And what happens is when you do that, a lot of people will come out of the woodworks who didn't know to support, right? But if you don't, if you hold it in, if you hide it, well, your shame will own you. Okay. So, guys, I think this is really, really important. It's, again, James 5:16 says, therefore confess your sins to each other and pray for each other so that you may be healed, right? You may be healed. And we are in May, and this is Mental Health Awareness Month. And you know what? I think it's important. If you want healing, you need to we need to tell each other what's going on. We need to talk. We need to not hold this stuff in. And you know what? Again, the name of this episode is I'm Still Here. Even as I'm getting through this episode and I'm getting through these last words as I'm wrapping this up, I was afraid to get in front of this camera and share this story with you. I was afraid. You know how many times I didn't hit the record button? Right? How many times I was like, I don't want to do it. I was like, I don't want to do it. But I'm still here. I'm still here. And I'll be here tomorrow. Be here the next day. Right? So, guys, I appreciate each and every one of you. If you are watching this online, I'm about to give you some shout outs. If you're tuning in on the podcast, if you're listening to this, I appreciate you. Make sure to tell your story. Get out there. Shine light on your shame, because it can help someone, and it will help you too. It will free you. You will be healed. All right. So make sure you share that. Before we go, I do want to give some shout outs to the live audience. Let's see. I see Stephen Davis. He says, glad you told your story. Stephen, I appreciate you. I see Omar. Omar's in the house. I'm grateful to hear your story. Helps me in many ways, man. That's what I'm talking about. Omar, I appreciate you so much. And I know you got things going on, right? Everybody's got stuff going on. Share it, right? Share it and shine some light on it, my friend. Shine some light on it. You'll be shocked and surprised. You've been doing that yourself. So I'm proud of you, man. I am proud of you, Omar. I really, really am. I'm proud of you because I know it takes a lot to share, right? It takes a lot to put your message out there. So let's see who else we got here. I got Jacqueline in the house. Good to see you, Jacqueline. Thank you for this platform. No, thank you for listening to me. Thank you for listening. Omar says, my first sales job ever was Toyota Louisville. That's what's up, man. I did Hyundai. Huffines Hyundai. Huffines has it. Huffines Hyundai McKinney, shout out to you. Yeah, that was some good times. Good times. I actually loved it. I was very successful. Did very well in the auto industry, but there was a time it was a platform for me. It was a platform. Let's put it that way. Let's see who else we got in here. We got Mackenzie. God wants to use you beyond what's happening right now. I'm excited about what's to come for you. Thank you. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Now, I know we normally do this show at 3 p.m. So I did this a little bit early. So my normal audience is not here. They will be waiting at 3 p.m. That's what they do. So I'm actually going to play this again. It will be a pre-recorded recording that will go out here in the next hour for that audience because they're not here. Let's see. We got Tracy Lee in the house. Great testimonials. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Mark is in the house. What is good? Yes, he says. By the way, our next live in studio, our normal show, right? Like I have a couple people were asking me questions. They were like, "Hey, what are you doing? Like you doing these solo episodes? Like what's going on with this?" And I'm like, "Yeah, because we're changing things up. Remember, I'm adjusting. So now what we do is we're recording in bulk. So we will record 8 episodes in 2 days. Okay, we'll record 8 episodes in 2 days. On one day, we have an event out of it, and we do a live studio audience, and it's really awesome. So we do that, and then what we'll do is we chop those up and we do some post edits and produce them more like television, right? Because I'm actually in the works of getting our show, the produced side, onto television, Roku and Apple TV and all of those streaming channels, right? So we're in the process of working that out, and so that's what we're doing. Some big changes, amazing stuff going on. But I decided in between, right? In between those times where I don't have the produced show content ready for you guys, I'm going to do a solo episode, and I'm going to share. And it's just going to be an amazing thing. Speaking of, Mark's just over here knocking on my door. He's over here knocking on the door, interrupting me. Love you, Mark. But yeah, so we're doing that. That's what we're going to do. We're going to produce the high end show, do the post edits, get that stuff out there, get it on the TV, and in between, you're going to get a solo episode. And I actually got that advice. Shout out to Amberly Lago. If you guys know Amberly Lago, she's amazing. You need to. Oh my gosh, if y'all don't know Amberly Lago, as soon as you get off this live stream, go look her up. All right, for real. Her story will just amaze you. But yeah, her podcast is absolutely crushing it. And she said, my solo episodes do better than my interview episodes, actually. I said, really? She said, yeah. And she's like, yours don't? And I said, well, I don't really do any solo episodes. She says, you don't? I said, no. I've always interviewed. Like I'm always the one interviewing the other people. And so I don't ever get to really share my story. So guess what? That's what we're doing. We're going to do some solos and allow the audience to get to know, us a little bit more. So that's going to be awesome. So if you guys liked this, if you enjoyed this, I would ask that you hop over to the Who You Know Show podcast. Okay. Hop onto the Who You Know Show podcast and subscribe. Okay. It is different. You guys, how many of you in the audience, how many of you actually listen to podcasts? Anybody here listen to podcasts? Because I'm the kind of person, like I'm more visual. I'm not an audio only, kind of guy, but we got the podcast too. So if you guys want to listen, you can do that. All right, guys, thank you so much. Again, we appreciate you. I will be posting this out again for our 3 p.m. audience, but I love you guys. I appreciate each and every one of you. And I see Steven in the house. Steven says, I do. Tracy says, I do. So yeah, go check out our podcast. And if you could do me a big favor, 5-star review, that helps it get out there to more and more people. And, the more people we can reach, the more people we can serve. And that's the ultimate goal for me, is just to be able to help people. So I would appreciate it if you guys did that. Thank you again. And actually, by the way, if you go to my profile, okay, if you go to my profile once this is over, you'll see up at the top near my oh my gosh, I'm drawing a blank. What do you call it? Your statement. Oh my gosh, I should know this. It's like your headline. Oh my gosh, your LinkedIn headline. Right below the LinkedIn headline, you'll see there's a link. I have a couple of things going on in there. When you click that, there's a free LinkedIn guide. Love to give you that free LinkedIn guide. But also when you click in there, you'll see our podcast. So you can easily find it if you just go to my profile. Just click on that. And we appreciate you guys. Have an amazing, blessed day. And get out there, share your story, shine some light on your shame, claim your shame. Don't worry. You know, it's healing. Okay. Have a phenomenal, blessed day. We'll talk soon. Bye.